Oh, 7, 8, 9, 10.
No, you are live.
I'm live. Well, it's clicking time.
Because you're
I know why. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm sorry. This is Janet from another planet. My time was ticking, but I wasn't seeing it that way. So I'm Reverend Janet Reynolds, and I am a spirit medium, certified spirit medium, psychic. And tonight, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the five senses that we have that we use when doing readings, okay? Well, not necessarily readings, they're just the five senses that we have as individuals. And then when we enhance them, we use them, just so that you know. So what I would like to say to you, the five senses is clear sentience, which is your feeling, and it's closely intertwined with our physical being. Its reception area is at the front of the body, extending from the top of the diaphragm to just below the navel, okay? This area, often called the solar plexus, is the site of many nerve junctions. That is clear sentience, and that is when you're feeling things. And I will get into that a little bit more in a minute. We have what we call a knowing, which is clear cognizance, and it is the most fleeting of the four senses. It is an inner awareness, unsupported by any particular internal sensation of external stimulus. You just know. And let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, there was many times when I just knew, or as they're saying here, you just know. I always knew I was going to move to Florida. I didn't know where or when. And I found that out when I was 28 years old, or before I was 28, right before. And I moved here 8, 9 years later. And the way that it came about was I was in Miami with my boys and my husband at the time. And I went out into the waters and to keep an eye on my boys. And I had what they call a deja vu. I knew I had been here or been there, but I also knew I was coming back. So knowing clear cognizance is really, it's good when you have those kind of feelings. You just know. And the reception are for knowing is the crown in the top of your head. To use knowing, you simply think upward and note your impression knowing. We also have what we call clear audience, and that is your hearing, okay? And these centers are on each side of the head, just above the ears. Hearing manifests itself as inner sound. Words, phases, even paragraphs of inner dialogue may impress themselves on you as you listen or if you listen, okay? And to give you a good example of that, and we'll even go into this more intensely, is when Blue Feather, who is my guide, which I forgot to mention, who's been around me for a long, long time, when he talks to me, I can hear him. And he gives me words, and the most words that he has given me is out of the country, 4 words at one time. And when he tells me out of the country when doing readings. It can mean going out of country, coming in from out of the country, or it could be family coming in from out of the country. So it's a coming in or a going, okay? And then we have my favorite, which is clairvoyance, which is your vision. And when you close your eyes, you will notice that with your eyes shut, your visual awareness automatically shifts upward. It moves from eye level to the level of your forehead. This is the location the ancient philosophers used to call the third eye. So it's right here is where you see it. So it might start here for me, but then what I do is I see it to the left, okay? And a good example of that would be to say to you, I could see a beautiful stallion, horse. So what does a horse or a stallion represent? It represents a free spirit, independent, strong-willed. So that's what that can mean to me. When we say that it's right here on the forehead, this is the location the ancient philosophers used to call the third eye. Open and close your eyes several times until you can be sure you sense that shift of attention, okay? Now, it's clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentience, claircognizance. And then there is one more, and that has to do with where you can, sometimes you can smell, and it's clairsentience. You can smell sometimes a cigarette that maybe a loved one who passed over used to smoke. You can smell perfume from a loved one when they pass over and maybe their energy is in the room with you. You can smell that. So that is clairsentience, okay? So now let me say this to you. All the psychic senses can alert you to danger. Psychic feeling functions as a sort of are a sort of body radar, okay? With psychic intuition, you know that trouble lies ahead. Psychic vision, as we shall discover, helps you to see and thus avoid potential problems. But a warning via psychic hearing really grabs your attention in a way none of the others can. You may pass off a feeling as nervousness, an intuition as anxiety or worry, a vision as just your imagination. Psychic hearing, especially at full volume, is an experience impossible to ignore. However, sometimes we do. Okay? Now, if anybody at any time has a question and would like to call me, you can call me at 813-814-1601, and I will answer your question. Okay? Now, most of the time, psychic hearing impressions or clairaudience are gentle and subtle, like hearing quiet music or a muted voice that speaks to you through stereo headphones. And I can honestly say when I hear or listen to Blue Feather, it can sound like headphones. It really can. His words are very, very clear to me. It can be maybe just one word, 2 words, but the most that he has spoke to me at one time has been the 4 words, and that is out of the country. However, sometimes the voice can be very loud, especially in times of danger. I've never experienced that. His voice has always been calm when I hear it, but I hear it. It's not loud. He doesn't have to holler at me or anything anything like that. Or I should say, I don't think he has to holler at me. You never know. I could be somewhere else and him trying to talk to me. He might have to holler. Because psychic hearing is so close to thinking to yourself, many audience do not realize when they are hearing physically. They assume they are merely thinking out loud. Actually, their mind has bounced a thought off the universe, and they are receiving an echo, a psychic response via clear audience. Those who are strong in psychic hearing become so used to this psychic echo that it becomes second nature to them. They do not regard themselves as psychic. But I do have the clear audience ability, and I have the clairvoyant where I do see symbols, and I also have the clear sentience, okay, to where I feel things. Now, both psychic hearing and that inner dialogue use the same wiring and eternal sound system. This is the reception area for clear audience. It is located on either side of the head, once more above the ear level. And that's about where I do hear Blue Feather when he's talking to me. This is where nerve signals from the inner ear are gathered, sorted, and integrated so that sound waves striking the eardrum can be perceived as words or language. So I hope you all understood that, okay? If you have any questions, once more, please call me at 813-814-1601 if you have any questions, okay? Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about clairvoyance, okay? And once more, clairvoyance is vision. Clairvoyance is when we see symbols. We call them symbols. You can actually see, I can actually see a waterfall sometimes. And to me, a waterfall represents your emotions. Sometimes I see mountains. So I honestly see a lot of symbols when I'm doing readings, and that is what helps my reading, okay? I can, when I see the mountains, and then at the same time, he could say to me, the Carolinas. So that would mean North Carolina or South Carolina. Sometimes he does say North Carolina. So, but back to clairvoyance, psychic vision is usually referred to once more as clairvoyance, which means clear seeing, since it allows you to see clearly beyond the reach of your eyes. Clairvoyance is the form which expresses itself as a picture, image, or a visual impression. I did a reading one time, and you have to ask permission from the people that you're doing readings for, your clients, in order to discuss their what I have seen. So I did ask the woman I was doing the reading for, since it was so unique, could I please repeat the story? I don't say her name, and I have forgotten her name, but I asked permission to repeat the story. So while I was giving her the reading, her father came in, and he was holding false teeth. So I said to her, well, your dad is here, and he's holding false teeth, and he's laughing. So what is that about? So she told me that when her mother needed false teeth, she paid for them for her mom. Then when her dad needed false teeth, she made her dad pay for his own. So that became a joke. So that's a memory. So that was what he was doing. He was presenting her a memory of when she wouldn't pay for his teeth. So that's what that's about when you see clairvoyant. Okay. Okay. So now psychic vision is like having an internal television screen that displays information and pictures not available to your physical eyes. Okay. The reception area, the seat of psychic vision, is an area in the forehead or the third eye. Many schools of meditation tell students to focus their thought there and visualize an image or a scene. But spirit really helps you to visualize an image or a screen. So let me say that. Traditionally, the third eye was also thought to be linked with the pineal gland, buried deep in the frontal center of the brain. This gland is the most mysterious of all glands. Its function is not yet fully understood, but science has associated it with complex functions of light sensitivity in both man and animals. And it's surprising when they say science has associated it. So, because science has a hard time believing metaphysically what a psychic or a medium can do when it comes to being clairvoyant, okay? All right. Now, once more, are there any questions? If so, please call 813-814-1601. Now, before I go any further, I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I had a quiet one, so that was a good thing. And aren't we all enjoying our cold weather here in Florida? And if you aren't, let me tell you, I am. My fireplace is going, and that just makes me so happy. So now back to class. Clairvoyance. Clairvoyance has an advantage, okay? It has its advantages, just like it has disadvantages. It has strengths and it has weaknesses. So I am going to give you a couple of advantages. It's best for integrating the 4 psychic senses into a plan of action. It's best for sensing all aspects of someone's aura. And it's the best psychic sense for spotting problems. And it's the best psychic sense for providing ESP to yourself. Seeing is believing. Most detailed of the psychic senses. And it really, really is, because you can actually, or I would say this to you, I can actually see, just like I could see the false teeth. I could see that so clear. And her dad was just an image to me. It was like a breeze, and it was I could see him, but he was just an image. It was very different. Sometimes I can see their eyes, I can see the outline of their body. It just all depends. Okay. Now, disadvantages. Most symbolic of the 4 psychic senses can be hard to distinguish from imagination or daydreaming. And you can bet when I'm doing readings, I'm not daydreaming. And one of the slower psychic senses, because I would say it's one of the slower, because it takes a little bit of time for that symbol to be noticed by our third eye. Okay? So people high in psychic vision, their strengths, excellent at seeing how to integrate all factors into a master plan, which you can do when doing readings. They're good at visual problems like packing furniture arrangements and the like. Can naturally see when something is not right and know what is wrong with it. And it can visualize the situation, problems, and solutions in their minds. But the weaknesses can be rigid and inflexible, not wanting their picture, changed, frequently will not act until they have the whole picture. Okay, so everything has its advantages, its disadvantages, its strengths, and its weaknesses. And all the world's best worries, which is his weakness, they visualize everything that could go wrong. I don't want to visualize everything that could go wrong. I do everything in my power to make sure that I can say that I see only what they show me, yes, but we're hoping it's for the best, okay? Now, full day today. If you have any questions, would you like to please call me at 813-814-1601, okay? All right, now let's go to what we call the clear cognizance, and that is when I knew. And that was like what I explained to you when I was in Miami. I just knew I was coming back, but I didn't know when or I didn't know where in Florida I was going to move, but I knew I was coming. And the other thing that happened to me when I was real little, and the thing that is, I think, special, is when I was little, I always knew, but I never understood it. My grandmother was the Indian, and she was very clairvoyant, which once more, we didn't understand that, but we knew she could see things that we couldn't see, okay? She was the Indian, she was Cherokee, and I'm part Indian, and she would talk to us about ghosts and spirits and death and all kinds of things, to the point to where we were never really afraid of the other side, of spirits or of ghosts. And she would talk about how if you hear chains going up and down the steps, that could represent a death. If someone was to knock on your door and it would be 3 knocks, 1, 2, 3 knocks, and you open the door and nobody's there, that could represent a death. And windows rattling. When someone is sick, and if you're in the room with them and the windows are rattling, that represents a death. But where I was going with this story is that when I was a young girl and I lived in Maryland, I used to walk to the Queenstown Shopping Center. And there was the Queenstown apartments were on my right when I used to walk to the shopping center. I always knew I was going to live there. I just knew. And I want you to know I lived there when I was a young teenager. I was about 18. I stayed with my friend Margot for a little bit. But what was important is that I ended up moving there when I was 24. And I lived there for a year with my boys. I had left my husband. And I learned a lot there. And the thing is I didn't like those apartments when I was a kid. I really didn't. But when I moved there and lived there for a year, I met a lot of nice people because it was of mixed cultures. And we didn't, as young kids, mingle with cultures different than our own. So I learned a lot about different people and their culture. So to know is good. Sometimes if you're somewhere and you just know you've been there, believe that because you probably have. And it shall come to pass in those days was the phase with which the Old Testament prophets began their predictions for future events. They spoke with certainty, but not because their forecasts were based on logical reasoning or on evidence. The biblical prophets simply knew, and from knowing, they prophesied. In its own way, psychic knowing or intuition of all the psychic senses most resembles the kind of instantaneous knowing that for centuries has been the hallmark of prophecy. So then we say personality. Feel that the rest of the world is functioning in slow motion. Your mind works quickly. You experience flashes of unexpected insight. You leap ahead in certainties no one around you is yet aware of. During a conversation, you probably say, I know, or I knew he or she was going to say that. So, sometimes you just know. Psychic knowing is ESP that occurs not as a vision, a voice, or a feeling, but as an oh my goodness, I can't even say that one, instantaneous knowing, instantly knowing. That knowing can be about the past, the present, or the future. Each type has its own benefits, meaning like when I was in the water, I knew I was going to live in Florida, but I knew I'd been there. So that was the past, Deja Vu. And I knew I was coming back. So that was the future. Each type has its own benefits once more. So the past, to do with the past, ask for or give examples. To do with the present, ask for and or give examples, which is what I'm doing. And then once more, the future. So when I knew ahead of time I was coming to Florida, that was the future. The past was I knew I'd been there. Okay, so now once more, does anybody have a question? Call 813-814-1601. All right, now what else can I tell you? Let's see what we got here. Okay, we can look at the advantages of the psychic ability of knowing. It's the quickest of the psychic senses, just knowing intuitively. You know, it's quicker than if I were to see a symbol or if I heard a word, okay? The best psychic sense for early warning, and it's the best for psychically sensing the future, just like I knew. And it's the best psychic sense for remote scanning, okay? The disadvantages are the impressions are fleeting and sometimes hard to capture. The impressions frequently come with no other supporting information, and the hardest psychic sense to trust initially, okay? And when I hear that, the hardest psychic sense to trust, I really have to think about that because I didn't really look at it as to have to trust it. I just believed it. So I guess I did trust it in my own little way because I never questioned it. And I just found it really unique when my best friend said she was moving to Florida. Then I said to her, wait for me. So there you go. So it does happen, okay? The strengths is excellent anticipators of problems or difficulties. That's one of them. Quick-minded and can adjust rapidly to changing circumstances, which for me, when I moved to Florida, of course, changed a lot of circumstances. Some of the weaknesses, it can be scattered by the volume of thoughts and ideas that you receive. Pick up information far in advance and sometimes too soon. We could say that the information that was given to me when I was 28, that was maybe too soon because it didn't happen until 8-9 years later. So that's but I didn't give it a lot of thought. I think I've learned in my life just to just let it happen. And that part's not easy. So now, does anybody have a question? All this information I'm feeding you, does anybody want to call and ask? If you do, would you please call 813-814-1601. Okay. Now, I would like to say to you, let's talk about one more. We got enough time that I can tell you about our feelings, okay? So, to feel things, clear sentience. It's all of us have it. It's instinct. It's gut feelings. Oh, excuse me. Oh, here we go. Hello. Oh, okay. How can I help you? Okay, so the question is, if you know that you have some of these abilities, how do you go about and do what now? Okay, how do we embrace them more? In other words, how do we believe our senses? Is that mainly what you mean? All right, how do we enhance them? Okay. Okay, the one way to get started with it is to start meditating more. Okay, I would say that. But this is if we're older. Okay, by that I mean like clear cognizance and knowing. I was a kid and I didn't understand it, but once I came to Florida and started learning about metaphysics, it was trust and just meditate and be quiet sometimes. And then that's what gets it started. Does that make sense? I do give classes, and hopefully after the first of the year, they'll be going strong. One of the classes is How Psychic Are You? And I do try to help y'all to enhance your abilities, but a lot of it is meditation, and the other is to start, to trust. You're welcome. Thank you for calling. Bye. Trust is so important. It really is. And as I learned when I came here more, I understood it much better. And when you hear words or you see symbols, you just need to trust and know that spirit is there helping you. But it all starts with meditation. It really does. And that is really what is important. Okay. So let's say this: feelings, clear sentience. The metaphysics of Eastern beliefs hold that the area of the solar plexus, which we mentioned earlier, is the energy center or chakra. Now, I hope a lot of y'all understand the word chakra because they are the energy centers that run down the front of us. And they start at the top and go down to the spine, which is another class, okay? Most closely linked with our creativity and our emotions. It is thought to be where the spiritual and physical worlds join. No wonder then that the solar plexus is a key reception area for psychic energy patterns. Okay, now once more, does anybody else have a question? If you do, call 813-814-1601. There you go, right there. Okay, now body language. You may not have realized it, but you demonstrate the psychic sensitivity of the region almost intuitively every day. You move to face others when you want to sense them more deeply. Cross arms, uncomfortable. That means that person is uncomfortable when they cross their arms. That also means they are trying to protect themselves, to feel more protected and less vulnerable. Turning sideways or sitting behind the desk can provide similar protection. Assessing your feeling psychic reception areas, okay? As you focus on your solar plexus and practice the steps that I'm going to outline, remember that you are sensing for a feeling, not a picture, not a word, or an intuition knowing, okay? Also keep in mind that the sensations that you feel at first will usually be subtle rather than intense. Learn to ask yourself what you are feeling. Do not accept nothing as the answer. It's a matter of sitting there and being quiet and just knowing, just feeling. You learn to ask yourself what you are feeling. Once more, do not accept nothing as the answer. If you think you feel nothing, ask yourself what kind of nothing is this? Nothing as in nothing different, nothing in the sense of a void or vacuum, nothing in the sense that something is missing or being hidden from you. Nothing can carry a great deal of information. If what you feel comes to you as feeling good or feeling bad, ask yourself, in what way good? Why do I feel bad? Where are these feelings coming from? Is it a fleeting feeling or something more permanent? Continue until you can discover more precisely what you are sensing. But once more, it's a matter of being quiet and calm and listening to what you are feeling. In the beginning, keep your eyes closed. It is possible to feel with your eyes open, but I recommend closed eyes in the early learning stages to cut down external distraction. However, on the platform, you can't do that. And when they say on the platform, you can't do that, that's psychics that spirit mediums that get up on the platform and give messages to the audience. And a lot of times when doing that, you can say, I feel, I feel that you are very lonely. You can say that, or I feel that you're angry. Sometimes when I'm doing readings, I can sincerely feel someone being angry or upset, and sometimes spirit will give me the word anger, so that I know that they really are angry. So now we're getting ready. We'll be getting ready to leave in a few minutes. Does anybody have a question? No? I would say if you do, please call 814-1601. I hope everybody is going to have a beautiful Christmas, and I really hope that everyone had a great Thanksgiving. If there's anything I can do, please go to www.bluefeather.net, and you can find all kinds of information out there on me. And you can find my phone numbers there. But once more, I'll give it to you, 813-814-1601. And if I'm not here, just please leave a message. I do house events. I do phone readings. I teach, and after the first of the year, I will be teaching more classes. So that might be something that you would be interested in. So have a beautiful day tomorrow, because our day today is almost finished. And I will talk with you all again in 2 weeks.